Good afternoon. If you're looking at me, that means it is Tuesday and it is 2 o'clock. Welcome back to another edition of Cozy Up and Pay Attention, the Parent Edition. Today, my guest is Patsy Howard. Patsy is the mother of two boys, of two men. She's also a grandmother and a great grandmother, and she's also one of my best friends. If you stand by, I'll be right back with my guest for the day, Patsy Howard.
Cozy Stone is a multi-talented comedian extraordinaire who has a real lust for life. She also combines humor and motivation, where she is known as a humorvational speaker. Her youthful ways and positive light make her a beacon for those of all ages. Cozy has lived a remarkable life that has paved the way for so many. She had the longest running open mic venue of 11 years at Tommy Rockers in Vegas, called Cozy's Comedy Corner, through which she introduced many up-and-coming comedians. Before going into comedy, she was one of the first female personal trainers and one of the top fitness trainers in the world. She has trained many greats such as Billie Jean King, Roberta Flack, Andrew Young, Ed Bradley, CCH Pounder, Al Pacino, and Earl Monroe. As a former competitive bodybuilder, she also owned a bodybuilding gym for women over 40 in Los Angeles for several years. She has worked in top positions for HBO, Playboy, and Tony Robbins. She also enjoys volunteer work, dedicating time to the New York Foundling Hospital and babies with AIDS. Cozy Stone has a message that shouldn't be missed.
Hello, where's my wonderful guest?
Good
Ta ta ta
afternoon.
ta. There she- Good afternoon, Patsy Howard. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me today. How are
Oh,
you?
I'm very well, and I can't thank you enough. And before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, I can't say it enough. This show is not about parent shaming. As any and all of you who are doing the job, who have done the job, you know it does not come with a manual. It does not come with a book. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. So what we do here is we share the stories of lives of parents who decided, and maybe who decided to be good parents. Every parent's going to be on here. Some of them aren't planned, and some of them are planned. At the end of the day, each one of these parents that I'm showcasing have what I love to call responsible adults out there in society making a difference in the world. Ms. Howard, what I'd like to do is before I get into personal questions, is to give the audience a background of who you are, where you came from. Maybe you can tell us where were your parents born?
Okay. Both parents, my mom and dad, were born in a small rural area in Louisiana called Lisbon, Louisiana. The closest town probably would be Homer, Louisiana.
Okay.
That's where
And
they're from.
and how old were you when they gave birth to you?
How old were they when
How
they,
old were
oh,
they?
they, I believe 23. I recall, I don't have my birth certificate in front of me, but I think they were 23 years old at the time.
All right. So, and the reason I ask these questions, it gives us an idea of what part of the country you came from. It gives us an idea, as we know, most of the time, sometimes, especially the younger parenting, repeats one another. So we now know that your parents were, quote unquote, at least of adult age.
Okay.
And where were you born?
I was born in Homer, Louisiana in 1949.
Okay. And how
And
old were you when you had your first child?
I was 18 years old when I had my first son.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. How long did you know the partner of your first child? Before you got
Ooh,
pregnant, how long
how
did you
long
know
did I
him?
know? I would say hmm, maybe 5 years. I'd
Oh,
say maybe 5 years. Kind of grew up together
yeah. So you met him in middle school
when
or
I was,
in
yes,
high school.
maybe before that.
Okay, so you had these 5 years of getting to know this little boy who's still a young man. What were some of the qualities? Okay, so when you looked at him, now you know you're pregnant. You're carrying his seed. So was it his brains, his body, or his looks that you were most attracted to? 'Cause
Well,
now
I think it may have been a combination because she used to sing. He was a good singer. So I'd say beauty, brain, talent
okay. So
that attracted me to him.
and he was also 18?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we were the same age.
All right. So here you are, two 18-year-olds who were high school grads or getting ready to graduate high school.
No, we were still in high school.
Oh,
We were still, when we met, it was before graduation, before had my first son at 18. Okay,
okay.
so
I don't want to assume anything, but
mhm.
so it was an unplanned.
Oh
Right.
yes, it was definitely unplanned. But yes, no problem there. It was unplanned.
Because
Having
see,
sex, unprotected,
okay, there
pregnant.
you go. That's how it happens, isn't it?
That's how it happened.
Yeah. But we also live in a generation today of young girls who actually get pregnant on purpose. So
Okay, well, no,
that's
in that
that's
case, it was unintended.
and so once you found out who you are, you're 18 with an 18-year-old, you're both pretty much
Yep.
children. Did you was it fear or fantasy of becoming a parent?
I don't remember experiencing any fear per se, but I had a fantasy of this beautiful baby child coming into the world. And I just knew it was going to be a girl, which later it was a boy. But
Okay.
I was excited and really anxious for the baby to come.
All right. So here
Wasn't
is
didn't really sure.
here is a characteristics that I have found from speaking to lots of people throughout the years. In terms of your rearing and his rearing, were they similar? And if not, what were the differences? So now
The
again,
rearing of my
uh,
child's father and my
yeah,
rearing, were they different or similar?
mhm,
Well, we came from a similar culture in the South where everybody knew each other and I looked out for each other. So I'd say they were pretty much equal.
okay. So again, your 18-year-old kids, did you ultimately raise your first kid together or were you a single parent?
Okay. I was a single parent when my son was born. We did not get married after or before the birth. So I was a single parent who took full responsibility for, caring for our first son.
Okay.
So I did not have the the father of my first son per se in his life at a certain point. It wasn't until he was maybe 10, because his father did go off to Vietnam for one and fought in the war and then came back. So there was that time. But for all intents and purposes, I was a single parent at that time.
But you were also still at home, correct?
No, no, I was not at home. I was on my own raising my son.
Okay, so that falls right into my next question.
Okay.
Yeah, what kind of support system then did you have for this huge undertaking?
Okay. Even though I was not physically at home, I did have the support of my parents. Both parents were still alive, my siblings, and friends
Okay.
who supported me throughout the whole pregnancy. After my first son was born, they were there to offer support, make sure I had all the things that I needed. Had a dear friend who really guided me through that period because she had children of her own. So she knew what I needed to do to provide resources, for example, for my son as a single mother.
Wow.
So
And
I had a support system that was there.
okay. And not only that, because I know you so well and love you so much,
Mhm.
how did you go on to become this intelligent, successful woman?
Well, I have a strong faith for one.
Okay.
I believe in God, and um, and I know that people were put in places in my life throughout this whole process. So when I had my first son, they were there. Then I met my husband, who I'm currently married to, in the in high school here in California, and we were married in December of '68, and then we had a son together, and we've been married now for 54
Forever.
years, 54 years now, and the two of us have raised our two sons. My oldest son was 3 when we married, and then he became the father of that son as well. So he's the father of 2 of our children.
So you did
And
graduate high school.
oh, yes, I did. I have some college, no degree. I spent 26 years of my life in labor as a labor executive for Service Employees International Union. I have always been one who was self-motivated to, I was always setting goals and plans to reach those goals. And I look back and I can say that the things that I had set in place to get me to where I am was helpful to get me here. I'm grateful and very proud of the fact that we have raised 2 young men who are really doing great. We're so proud of them, the accomplishment and their contribution to society, right? So
Mhm.
I don't know if there's one ingredient there, but I think it took a lot of sacrifices, um, you know, trusting in myself and others to get me to where I am. Being in corporate America and being an African American woman can be a challenge of its own, but having the support of my husband and others, I think it really helped me to get to where I am today and look back and have no regrets.
Well, what I want the younger parents, if nothing else, hopefully they'll start watching the show to understand it happens
It
every day
happens.
and every day. And
Mhm.
it does not have to stop you from your continual growth. It does
No.
not have to stop you in any fashion or form. But I do believe, as a younger person, it helps to have a support system in place.
Oh,
But
most definitely.
what you also emphasized is you also had that strong character of wanting to be more,
Right.
correct?
I've always wanted more for my children than what I had. And that knew that that meant, some sacrifices. As a parent, we make many sacrifices for our children.
Mhm,
Having that unconditional love for them, being supportive. They need the same, really realizing they need the same thing that I needed.
mhm.
Just love,
So
support,
even
guidance.
though you got pregnant at early at 18,
Mhm.
and you had this strong character, that had to also have been infused in you somewhere, either within your own home, your aunts, your uncles, somewhere in your influence. So here's my question: can you think of one mantra that you can hear in your head that also helped to inspire you to continue to climb? We all can hear our parents' voice or our teacher's voice. What is one of yours?
Okay. Well, I was raised by both parents,
Okay.
and who again were different and supportive. But it was my dad who I have the strongest connection with,
Mhm.
and he always wanted us to know that family values were so important. If we just, you know, uh, know that and keep that in mind as we grow, that family unit should be intact, where there's love, there's trust, support. And I can always hear my dad, who's gone on now, saying that, just keep the family together, be responsible, respectful, and I always try to keep that in mind.
Okay.
You
All right.
know.
So let's get into the questions that you have chosen. And I tell my audience, I think it's important for me to give my guests a heads up. And then this way they can just answer the questions and be prepared for it. So your first question is, did you and your partner discuss disciplines? And of course, I mean, it doesn't matter that your first son was 3. He's still a child.
Right.
So now
Right.
you've got this 3-year-old, you and Zion get married, you plan your families. What disciplines did you two discuss that you were going to incorporate in your parenting?
I was thinking about that. It kind of came, it was like organic. We didn't really sit down and have a discussion about, to what level, to what degree. And I must say, we didn't have to do too much disciplining of our children, thank God. But I would say that I was the one who was the disciplinarian.
And Patsy, stop right there. That's what I mean. Don't take the word for as deeply. So
Okay.
in other words, I also, again, this show came about for me, just as you know, I talk to everybody and anybody. And I'm
Right.
always amazed when I talk to parents who'll say, my father or the father of the kid or my husband doesn't believe in, let's say, spanking, but people don't want to hear that
Okay.
word. So let's say putting them on timeout or making them wash the dishes. In other words, there's one parent sometimes that doesn't want to make the child accountable. That's what that word discipline means. Maybe I'll change the way I
What?
ask that question.
Okay. Well, we both of us as parents believed in discipline and holding our children accountable.
Okay.
Right. And yes,
So
there
you were
were
on the same, so you
timeouts.
were
There
on the
were
same
taking.
page.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we were on the same page, most definitely.
And then maybe that's the way I'll change my question. Were you both on the same
Right.
page
We
when it
never
came
had
to
any disagreements about the level of discipline or how any of that. No, we were on the same page.
And did he also come from 2-parent home?
Yes, he did. We
Wow.
both did.
That's also
Which
significant.
I believe is important, and you can see the difference, I believe, in parenting when a child comes from a 2-parent household.
Mhm. Yep, I agree. Your next question is, what do you think, Ms. Howard, makes a good parent?
Okay, as you said, there are no perfect parents. We've established that. But I think a good parent is one who will love their child or children unconditionally, no matter what color, sexual orientation, how they, no conditions whatsoever. Also, you must be supportive of the children and not try and put your will into their lives or trying to direct them into where you want them to go, and provide them with the things that are needed, not necessarily all the things that they want, but those things that are needed that will help them become good citizens, and can thrive and give back to society. And then to teach them by example, how to be a good a person, number one, a husband, father, grandfather, etc., and teach by example. My husband and I always wanted to set the example for them on how to resolve issues, because they're going to come, and you need to know what worked for us. This is what worked for us. May not necessarily work for you, but you have to find that works for you. So.
Okay, so you may have answered this question as well in that answer. I'm asking you for 3 responsibilities as a parent. So again, you've got these little individuals and you brought into this world. They don't know anything. What are if you can, the top 3 responsibilities you felt that you needed to give your children?
Okay. Be thankful, please, and be respectful. Be thankful, be respectful, and always please.
Meaning always say please.
Please, yes. When making a
Interesting.
request.
Interesting. Just had that conversation. It's almost funny when my guests come on. Somehow or another, I just had this conversation today or yesterday with that very same. It was yesterday. I was in my car talking to a buddy of the manners. And when we were growing up, one of the first things we can all probably remember is our parents hand you something, and as soon as you take it, or when you ask, they say, "Did you say please?"
Please.
Right?
Yeah,
And then when
yeah.
they hand it to you, they look at you and they say,
Thank you.
"Did you say thank you?"
Mhm.
I had an instance not too long ago with today's parents, and this little girl was just staring at me, and I said, "Did you say please?" And she looked at me like I had four heads.
Been there, done that too.
Yeah, it was. If you'd have thought I started speaking French this year, and then I met her mother. It's like, okay, right?
And then that has been passed on. For example, as our children grew up, we never had to move items to keep them from touching them or disturbing them. We taught them there's a place for that. You know, you can't touch that, or you are not allowed to do this. You bring your friends over, you know, that like hear that. So they were pretty disciplined, I must say.
That's powerful. That is
Yeah.
powerful. I love those
So,
parents. And the
mhm.
few that I've met, excuse me, I met a woman, she was in the crystals or whatever. And she said to me, I was not rearranging my house for a
Me
child.
either.
And I really was at all, because that's a heck of a discipline. That is teaching your
Yeah.
child to be respectful
Respectful
of not just your
your
items, but
but
for their
others.
home.
Exactly.
And then when
And
they bring their children, their friends in the house, they know, do not break my mother's.
exactly.
Wow. All
And
right.
that has also been passed on to my great grandchildren. When they come over, no, we're not moving anything. No, that's a no. So we're still trying to instill that into them.
How's that working?
It's more of a challenge these days, but I think they're getting there. I still haven't had to rearrange anything.
Okay. Which means your children took their learnings into
Exactly.
their. Good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and you answered this next question, Missy. I asked things you taught your child, and respect, thankfulness, honesty. Let's talk about honesty, since you've already answered some of those.
Mhm.
Tell me how you taught your children, because as children, especially teenagers, we think the lie is going to, and they don't realize that every parent knows you're lying because
That's
you
right.
were a child. So let's talk about honesty.
Well, there were consequences for lying to us. So we always had, you know, that was a lie. You're going to have to pay the consequences. And we decided what was appropriate at the time
Okay.
as a consequence for lying.
So give me an example. I know it's been a while.
You're supposed to be at the park, but yet you're at the mall, and we find out you're at the mall. You lied to us, so that means there will be a consequence for that. It means you don't get to go for X number of whatever. An example of a lie, and then there were consequences based on that lie.
And that is, ladies and gentlemen, saying what you mean and mean what you say.
What you say? That's right.
So you had
And
boys. Tell me
two
about
boys.
2 boys. Tell me about the cleaning room aspect.
Okay. As most parents know, children in their rooms, we have to stay on them
Okay.
to get the room clean. Yes, and go back the second or third time, but eventually the room was clean because they knew if they wanted to do whatever they wanted to do, they knew to get the room clean, even if it meant pushing it in the closet for now.
Really?
They would make the room look much better when I would look in
You
on it.
keep
But
what you
yeah,
get. What about
they
because
had
again,
chores. I'm sorry.
that's it. You know, Patsy, it's a shame you know me so well. That's right. What
Oh
about
yeah.
chores?
Yeah, they had chores. They had to make sure that certain grades were kept up. They were involved in all of the sports, the baseball, basketball,
No.
etc.
Let's bring chores. That's activity.
Chores. Okay, well, keeping the room clean, making sure the trash was taken out. I didn't really have them doing the dishes per se, but keeping your room clean, making sure the trash was taken out. They had to mow the lawn, for example. They helped to wash cars, all the little things that
What about
children do.
cooking? What about cooking?
No, didn't
No.
really require them to cook. The oldest son can make spaghetti, but no, cooking was not a part of their chores.
I find that interesting because men love to eat.
They do, and I provided the meals.
Yes, and you also provided them to find women who can cook that.
Exactly.
Oh no! Oh,
But the oldest one can make spaghetti, so if he finds somebody who likes spaghetti, he can do
woohoo! You can get spaghetti in a can. Wow.
that. Yeah,
All right,
but
let's get to your last question. What makes you happy as a parent? Happy to be a parent.
okay, I remember my dad told us, he raised 6 of us, and he said he got the greatest joy and pride in seeing all of us become self-sufficient adults. He was so proud of the fact that, he took care of us for the time that we were with him, and then to see us leave home and become adults that are contributing again to society. So for me to see our sons having the same values that we had as first as children and then as parents, they show love. I see them showing love and affection to their children, and they're being responsible parents, making sure that they have kids in college, making sure that they are there to support them through that. They have grandchildren. They make sure that they are there for the important points in their lives, to show that they're there to love and support them.
What do your grandchildren call you?
Okay, my grandchildren call me Granny, but the great-grandchildren call me Gigi.
Okay.
Okay, so Gigi for the grandchildren, for the great-grandchildren, and Granny for my grandchildren.
And how did Gigi, was the other grandparent being called Granny?
Well,
I was growing up, our grandparents and grandparents, both sides of the family.
Okay, well, I put it out before the first great grand was born that I had claimed Gigi, so they were free to choose the other names. So that's how I got Gigi for my great grandchildren.
Okay, that's one of the things that makes me laugh, and at least some of them call you Granny, correct?
Yes, the grandchildren, but just the grandchildren. Now the great grandchildren, I'm Gigi. That's right. Granny to the grandchildren, Gigi to the great grandchildren.
But again, that was your choice. You wanted
that was my choice. That's right. My grandchildren come over. Huh?
Why?
That's what I mean. I used to tell them as a granny, I was a disco granny. So call me Granny during that time. Sky and DeAndre. And so Granny was how I wanted to be called then. And when I became a great grandmother, it was Gigi.
Okay. All right. It's just one of those things that I don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think every grandparent and every great grandparent should choose how they want to be identified or what they want to be called. Yes, I believe that.
Okay. All right. But today's younger parents, they want to be called Patsy. They want to be called Carol. Oh,
no,
yeah.
No.
They do not want anything that sounds like grandmother.
I am proud to be a grandmother, proud to be a great grandmother, and I don't have an issue with that.
Okay. Yeah. As you said, at least your grandchildren call you Granny.
Granny.
You accepted that you're old enough, mature enough, wise enough,
That's right.
enough to earn that title.
That's right.
The generation today, and you know them and we know them, they don't want anything to do with that word. And that is unfortunate also, but we know those are the people that won't be on my show. So let's let's get to the fun question. And
Okay.
your fun question is, and you don't know it has other parts to do with it.
I'm not surprised.
Of course you're not. And after you, I'm going to make them believe I'm going to ask them the question they send me, and I'm not. So here's yours for today. Who would play you in the movie of your life?
Viola Davis.
I should have guessed that. All right. And so would it be, I could see that. And would it be a comedy, an action film, a romance comedy, a sci-fi? What type of movie would it be?
I think it would be a drama.
Ah,
It would be a drama
okay.
with a little suspense there, a little bit of romance. You know, dramas tend to have all of that. A leading lady.
So off the top of your head, because she's done so much and has done them all well, is there any movie that you would put yourself in that role? Which one?
Oh, in one of Viola's movies?
That she's done. Where would you would play that character?
Okay, we can start with How to Get Away with Murder. Let's start with there.
Was
She
that
owned that one.
was that a movie or a TV show?
That was a TV show, but
Okay, that's that.
she was right. So yeah, we start there.
Okay.
She, even with the crying and the snot running, she was into it. She just took you there, and I just love her. So,
I've never watched it.
and I had a chance to meet her as
good.
well. Yeah.
Okay.
So Viola Davis.
Well, if you go to movies
And-
right now, she's got one coming up. Where do you see that?
Yes.
With my
Right. Yeah. No. Yep.
I was sitting in a movie last week, the only African American in the movie, and it came on, and I walked by, and I thought it was hilarious. Like, there's one of them right there. It was just called Strong Women or Strong Warrior Women or something like that. And
Yeah.
here I was,
Looking
right on
forward to
time,
it.
going across the screen.
Yeah.
Patsy Howard, you are everything to me, but you already know that. It has been more than a pleasure. And folks, Patsy and I became friends immediately, first of all. I owned a gym in Los Angeles, and I trained women over 40 to try to keep them in bodybuilding, to try to keep them out of doctors' offices. My concern was all women, but mostly Black women over 40, because the statistics speak for themselves. And Patsy came into that gym with her horde of girlfriends, and they helped put me on the map. She eventually got me the union that she was working in. I trained her employees. I was given the president of the union. I went out to her house and I trained her. If I have a question today that I don't know the answer to, this lady answers my calls. She is tolerant of me.
That's what friends do.
I know, but you just yesterday, and I kept saying, don't talk, and you didn't. I said, I hung up the phone and I said, thank you, God, Patsy, because I'm a little out there, and I need friends like Patsy to keep me grounded. I'm the first person to say I don't know it all. I told someone the other day, I know a lot about a little, or I know a little about a lot.
Yeah.
And what I don't know, that's when you put these people in your life, or find, and again, cozy up and pay attention to Parent Edition. If there are young people out there, or even someone in their 20s and they're deciding to have a family, watch our shows. Go back to the 4 that we've done and listen to some of the advice that these parents are giving, because they've already proved, and they have responsible adults already in the world who are now giving birth and giving society more of what we need, and it's necessary. So I take the biggest pleasure of someone who knows what it took. And as I said earlier, maybe I'll have a show. And if you're listening and you decided, like I did consciously, not to have any children, please send me an email to cozyupandpayattention@gmail.com and let me have you on the show. You're not a pariah. You are as much a part of this society. And people like us, we still give. We just don't have to feed, and we don't have to teach them how to make spaghetti.
Okay.
So in my
Yeah.
closing remarks, I want to say one of the premises and why I do the show and will continue to do the show, and it works for me, people. When you know better, you do better,
better.
right?
Exactly.
I love you. I will talk with you soon. Finish enjoying your vacation.
Thank you.
Give your husband a kiss for me, please.
I will.
And ladies and gentlemen, please, you can find us on YouTube, PR Connections, Radio Connections, radio.com. Find the first 4 that we did. We are live on Facebook every Tuesday at 2:00. And I am Cozy Stone, and I like being Cozy Stone. Good afternoon, and go have a great
Good
evening.
afternoon. Thank you. Bye.